We have some major news stories coming out of the Pine Barrens that we need to talk about, and one of them is Epical, and that's what we're going to get started with. Riverhead wants to sell this land to a developer, which could mean the loss of more Pine Barrens. Okay, so we have two major environmental stories that need to be talked about, and let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is what's going on at Epical. I've talked about this before. We're going to take a look at the site. And there's News 12 is now actually reporting on it, which is very good. It's getting some coverage. News 12 actually has a story. You can watch it. I have the link below. And what you can see is that they're in the woods in Calverton, and these woods could be gone. So some members of the Riverhead Town Board are accused of trying to steamroll through a development plan on the former Grumman site in Calverton. Civic and environmental groups are fuming over a proposed land deal in Riverhead that will sell hundreds of acres of land to a developer. Rex Farr, a longtime resident and farmer on the East End, heads up the coalition against Epical housing. He wants more answers into what he calls a land grab by developer 555. The land in question involves 1,600 acres of a 3,000-acre parcel, most of which is undeveloped. 1,600 acres for $40 million. That doesn't seem right to me, says Farr. Besides what the groups are calling a ridiculously low price for the land, they are also asking for more specifics about the developer's plans for the property. 555 says their plan will establish a hub that incorporates education, manufacturing, research, and development related to the aerospace industry. No housing or retail will be part of this project. The town of Riverhead has not returned News 12's calls to comment. The town board will vote on the land deal next Wednesday. So that is the first story, and I'm going to show you again the area in question and why it's so important that I think all of it be preserved. Right, so we will be looking at Google Maps here and taking a look at the Epical area. So you can see this is all the Pine Barrens over here, and Epical is right here. You can see where it says Calverton Executive Air Park, but it's not really. There's only one runway in use. It's only really used by skydiving planes. Now, the way I feel about this is right now they want to develop 1,600 acres of this 3,000-acre parcel, all right, which is, roughly a little over half. My concern is there's no clear plan as to what will be put here and what possible impacts there will be to the wild areas of the site. Now, the way I feel about it is most of the site should be preserved. You have some beautiful woods over here, as you saw in the pictures. Here, pure pitch pine areas, fields, mixed oak and pine. You have meadows. They're very important habitats for birds and butterflies and things like that. And I feel that every natural area on this site should be untouched and left alone. There are areas that have been touched, the areas in the industrial, this central part of the Epical site here, which can be developed without much negative impact. But as far as the rest of it goes, it should be left alone and preserved. That's the way I feel about it. Riverhead Town is not really being forthcoming, and I really think that at this point, especially because of the questionable financing of 555, they don't even know if they're going to be able to pay for it. They're getting a bargain on this land. I think this deal should be rejected by the town board of Riverhead. I really think that this should be turned into a park. I think it should be turned into a state park, all right? And this is where the governor could have come in and done something, but we all know Cuomo talks a big game about the environment. When push comes to shove, we've seen that he allowed the 60 acres in Mastic to be destroyed, and he will allow destruction here as well. So he is not an environmentalist, and any environmental governor worth his salt would have had this land purchased and preserved. These are the areas that should be preserved. All these natural areas you see here, all right? All these natural areas here, all the way up to this runway here, all right? The runways would be could be developed, the runway areas. But for the rest of it, all the areas where there's trees and grasses should be left alone and preserved. That's the way I feel about it. We got to keep watching on this, because this is a major project that could wind up causing devastating impact to the Pine Barrens and Riverhead, and we already know from history that Riverhead is very pro-developer. The next environmental story we have to talk about is more money being allocated to combat the Southern Pine Beetle in our Pine Barrens. So the state has issued more than $200,000 in recovery grants to battle the Southern Pine Beetle, the insects responsible for destroying acres of trees in Long Island's Pine Barrens. Officials say that more than 5,000 acres of land have been affected by the Southern Pine Beetle. They say the infestation has spread as far as East Hampton. John Pavicic, the executive director of the Central Pine Barrens Commission, says 350 pitch pine seedlings planted at Hubbard County Park in Hampton Bays will help restore the Pine Barrens landscape. He also says another part of the restoration plan involves cutting down thousands of infested trees, a method that helps to suppress the insects. Down south, where they've combated the pine beetle for decades, it's been shown that this method has been cutting has been 85% effective. So it's been 85% effective in stopping the beetles. So hopefully it works. The State Department of Environmental Conservation officials say 8,000 infested trees were cut down last season. They will be taking aerial images of the Pine Barrens to see where more cutting is necessary. Now, I like the comment below, and this is exactly how I feel. We need more controlled burns, please. So while I'm glad to see that there's more money and more funding going to fighting the Southern Pine Beetle on Long Island and that removal of infested trees is going on, the point is still being missed by that last comment, and that is that we're not doing controlled burns. And I think that it's almost, in a way, too little too late, because I saw what happened at Connecticut. We've lost so much, more than New Jersey has, due to the Southern Pine Beetle, because the reaction from the state was slow. Yeah, now there's help coming, but there's been a lot of damage, and the damage is still going on because, yes, the tree removal is something. You see what happened in Connecticut. It used to be full of pines. Now, nothing but dead pines. This was an outbreak that was in a state park that went completely out of control, and most of the park lost its pine barrens, and it's really a shame. Removal of infested trees is important, but I think what's even more important is controlled burns. And the state of New York and Suffolk County still doesn't get it. The fact is, pitch pines need those fires for their reproductive cycles, for their survival. All right, the fires kill off the beetles too. It's part of the Pine Barrens ecosystem. Yet we've been suppressing fires too much. We need to start doing more controlled burns like New Jersey does. We shouldn't have to live in New Jersey to have a healthy Pine Barrens. All right, and this actually is a picture from me that I actually took this picture in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, actually Double Trouble State Park. They were doing, you see that smoke there, they were doing a controlled burn a couple of years ago over at Jake's Branch Park. So they do them every year all over the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, but no, not on Long Island. And therefore, New Jersey, whenever you go to New Jersey, you see that there's much more space between the trees. It appears a lot healthier. It's not as crowded. And this is because of a regular, healthy fire cycle in New Jersey. That is, these controlled burns are key to a healthy Pine Barrens. And the state of New York and Suffolk County still doesn't get it. I'm glad to see this additional funding, but we still need more money for controlled burns. Without them, our Pine Barrens may one day cease to exist. As beautiful as Jersey is, I really don't want to have to live there to experience the Pine Barrens. So let's do what we can to preserve our Pine Barrens, preserve them from developers, and fight these Southern Pine Beetles with not just aggressive cutting of infested trees, but also controlled fires. We need to start doing that, and the time is now. Enough talk. Let's start doing these controlled burns in the Pine Barrens to save our Pine Barrens. All right, because fire is part of the Pine Barrens ecosystem. And that's it for this video.